So let's go ahead and begin our part 2 study of holy moments with a prayer. So we'll go ahead and just take a minute to just be really present to this time and space where we're at and feel supported by the seat beneath us, and take in a nice gentle breath into our heart space. As we pray from this space, dear Mother, Father, God, great Spirit of the universe, thank you for this opportunity to share and learn and experience a journey through holy moments. We know that we are constantly in the presence of the divine, and not always are we aware of it. So God is always here. We are not always aware of that fact. And part of our journey is to open up to this awareness and open up in community with others and create holy moments, experience holy moments, and to open our understanding of what holy moments are so that we can live it more fully in our lives. So we see ourselves opening up to sharing and awareness and just a lot of learning, opening to growth and new ways of seeing as we see this class moving forward in joy with ease and grace. Thank you, God. Amen. All right, so I'd like to start with some sharing from the week. And the kind of homework assignment was just to stay open to holy moments in your week. Now, this could be a holy moment that you created yourself or that you experienced because of someone else. So you partook, and it wasn't necessarily you creating it, someone else created it, and you got to be a part of it. Is there anyone who would like to share a holy moment that they experienced in this past week?
Say.
Okay.
Hi. Well, I was thinking like today we have a small golf group, and I was the beneficiary of a kindness. And the one of the gentlemen in the group brought me a little box with a red rose on it, real one, and he said, "This for you for Happy Mother's Day."
Oh,
And I was so touched when I got home. It was artfully made cookies that were in a different design, and they were really special. So I think that was very kind of him to do that. That was really unexpected. And then today when I went to Sam's Club with my husband, wanted to go there, and that's not a place I normally go, but on the way in, there was somebody, they just unloaded their big cart, everything into their car. I said, "Want me to take that cart for you?" "Oh, yes, thank you." So I took it and I put it in the cart rack. And on the way out, same thing. A man just finished putting all the grass. I said, "You would like me to put away that cart for you?" And he goes, "Oh, well, thank you, hon." So it was just a little thing that connected with other people today.
very nice. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else? A holy moment that you created or that you experienced? George, Lindsay?
I was in Cincinnati until today and walking down the street, and I saw a truck, and I thought, I need to pay attention to this truck. So when I came back, there was a guy there working in the yard, and I asked him if he'd be willing to work in my yard. So this evening we got together, him in Cincinnati and me in Florida, on WhatsApp. And so he says he's volunteering, but I'm planning on paying him. He's going to come and take care of my yard and do all that stuff for me, and it needs it so badly. So I feel so blessed, so blessed. And he felt blessed that I would ask him that. So that was nice.
Very nice. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else like to share a holy moment, either that you created or experienced? Gigi.
Yeah, so earlier in the week, I was talking with someone on the phone, and in the middle of this, I just had this kind of recall of a card someone had given me one point in time, and it was just a really special card. And so and this is not normally something I would share with this person, but I did, and we were talking about it, and it's kind of like, because she was in the class with us last week too, and I said, this is a holy moment, kind of. Well, what dawned on me is that holy moment kind of involves some vulnerability, if you will. Because I was just kind of thinking about kind of, well, what was that and all that. So that was one of the things that kind of caught my attention.
Thank you. Very nice.
Hmm.
Anyone else? Leslie. You're muted, Leslie.
Is that it? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Finally figured it out. Yeah, I have 3 grandchildren that live in Phoenix, and I don't hear from them on a real regular basis. If I do hear from them, I call them, and so they're older, they're in college, and so I was thinking about my grandson, and because he's the one that usually really will try to make some kind of contact with me, and I thought, oh, and then I thought, no, you call him, and so I actually texted him, and he was so happy to hear from me, and I was so happy that he wanted to hear from me, and so we had a nice conversation, and he sent me a picture of his sister who, when she graduated from college, and so it was just a moment that I really, really enjoyed it because I hadn't talked to them in so long. So that was my moment.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Kathleen.
I had received a really unexpected text concerning a remark I had made, and someone was saying that, thanking me for it and just saying it meant something to them. So it was just so unexpected that I really kind of relished in it, And then Sunday we were out for dinner, and the place where we were eating had a lot of parking attendants, and they were swamped. They were really swamped. And so when we went out to claim our car, I just made an effort to say to this young guy who was running back and forth, you are doing a really good job here. And, I could tell that he just appreciated being seen, seeing all the commotion of that day. So, yeah, it's really cool to receive something. And it's also cool, to return that moment for somebody else. So, yeah.
Thank you.
That's good.
Thank you. Sally, did you have something to add?
You really hit that on the nose. Unexpected. I think that's what a lot of this experience is. It's like a man the other day that was collecting goods at the Goodwill. I said, well, how are you doing today? He said, better now that I met you. I mean, this just touched my heart, and it was unexpected. And it just gives me goosebumps. I think that is a key to holy moments.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're onto something there. I mean, mine was
Mhm.
also with my mother for Mother's Day, and she really hates to get gifts from me. And I both got to give and receive. I noticed the last time I was at her house helping her with things that her gardening shoes were not looking so good. And she had put duct tape on the bottom of them to
Oh,
try to
wow.
keep the sole together. And I didn't say anything to her. I just bought her a new pair of waterproof gardening shoes. And 'cause she hates gifts. And I'm like, this is something you can use. And my mother, she won't take gifts. takes them unwillingly from me. And she was so excited. It was something she had not expected me to give her, and she gratefully received them. So I got to be both, I got to see both the giving part and then the grateful receiving part. And it was just a really good reminder to me, because I know that I often will sometimes kind of push off a gift or a compliment, and how good it felt for her to receive it so welcomely and be so excited about it, that it was a good reminder for me to go and do the same thing when I received a gift from a student. So, yeah, I think you're really on to the idea that the holy moment is not necessarily just something that we do out of habit, or that we say because it's just what we're supposed to say back to somebody, or we're supposed to do it. It's not just part of it's something different and unexpected. Yeah.
Right.
So I didn't want to leave anybody else out if anyone had something, and we have lots to talk about. So is there somebody that wants to share one, Antoinette?
And Irene also is waving her hand. A holy moment. I've had many. To me, every moment is a holy moment, and with others, and then also with myself, making sure that I am kind to myself and that I'm loving to myself and speak likewise. And another holy moment is I'm here with my sister Jacqueline, who is listening in on the telephone. She's in Northern Kentucky and doesn't have access to Zoom. So she's the one that gifted me this book. So a double holy moment here, sharing this with her. And so many people, and I have, and just something that I just started to do naturally. I didn't think about it, is anybody in the stores that I see that is stocking something, or that is, just in their respective area and offering me help, is acknowledging how much I appreciate what they do. Or if somebody's washing windows, and I do appreciate they go to a lot of effort to make sure that there's the things on the shelves. And but it's just now with this class, the antenna are up. And so witnessing others engaged in holy moments, and just remembering that every moment is a holy moment, and choosing wisely in how I be with it. And I've had some slips. We got a lot of stuff going on in the outer. I've had a few slips, but hey, but most of them are, most of the time, it is of the positive, respectful, honoring, loving, and so the sacred synchronicity that holy moments bring.
Thank you. Thanks, Antoinette. Irene? You're muted, Irene. You're muted, Irene.
I was saying that Leslie was talking about her grandchildren, which brought to mind something connected with Mother's Day that some of you talked about. I got a call Mother's Day from one of my grandchildren. And this one is a young man who's 19 years old and is pretty taciturn or not very social. And when I talk to him on the phone, on occasion, he will answer with a yes or no. But this evening, he was quite responsive to things I asked him about. And when I was done with that, he said, "Grandma, do you mind if I ask you some questions? They're kind of personal." And I said, "Yeah, sure." And he said to me, "I wondered what it was like before you came to America, because I was born in Vienna, lived in Hungary, and lived through the Nazi times. And I think that's what he was asking me for without being very specific." And I was very happy to tell him what my experience was. And especially because this is not a subject we talk about in the family. We talked about it I was interviewed for a show that Spielberg sponsored for all the survivors to talk about what their life was like. But once they saw that, they didn't refer to it much. His dad did talk to me about it some, but it's like it's in the past. So I told him that I was really pleased because this is not something, you know, that I talk about frequently. And the beauty of it was that it was such a surprise. Never expected the phone call, never expected to have him really conversing with him, and definitely never expected he would ask me this. So at the time, I knew that it made me very happy, and I wrote to my daughter about it, and I think to my son, but I didn't realize that indeed that was a holy moment. And as you were talking about it, it falls into place. And I think one of the things that holy moments do is they give you joy. And from many of the things you said, it's reciprocal. You know, if you put it out there, it comes back. So I'm glad we're having this discussion. It seems to be very timely. This book is very timely for me. And I'm very appreciative that there is a play, that I got introduced to it, and that there's people to discuss it with. So thank you.
Good, thank you, Irene. And I think you kind of segmented perfectly into this first section about the Good Samaritan. And the story, I just want to go through part of it, just recap kind of the story of the Good Samaritan, that there was a Jewish man that was robbed and beaten and pretty much kind of left for dead. His wallet and his clothes were taken. And he was approached by 3 different men. And the first one was a priest, and the priest crosses the road on the other side and keeps walking the other way. And the second one is a man from the temple, a holy man, a scholar, and he also crosses to the other side of the road and goes the other way. And then the last one is a Samaritan, and the Samaritan not only helps to pour oil and wine on his wounds, bandage him up, but then puts him on his donkey and takes him to a hotel and tells that innkeeper to take care of him, pays for it up front, says, I have business and I'll be back this way, and I'll settle any other bill that's encumbered when I come back. Please take care of him. And this was more than just the holy moment. This was above and beyond the holy moment. And part of the biblical background of this is that Samaritan and Jews did not get along with one another at all. And so this would have been a really huge thing for this Samaritan to do. And I want to kind of skip to, if you've got the book, to page 34, where it picked up in, it's about the 3rd full paragraph, which is only 1 sentence. And it says, the Good Samaritan is the patron saint of holy moments. If you can find that part, is there someone who can read that next paragraph after that? I see both Bobbies have their hand up. How about Bobby Joy first, and then Bobby Ellis will be the next reader. And I saw several others of you too. And so what, Bobby Joy, you go first. Thanks.
Okay. What the Good Samaritan did was a spectacular holy moment, but it's important to understand that his character was predisposed to that action. His soul had been prepared with hundreds of choices and decisions before that day. His heart was gently inclined toward the needs of others. The other men who didn't stop to help the stranger in distress had their reasons for not stopping. I wonder what their hearts were inclined toward.
Yeah, can you stop there for a minute? So I was thinking, what kicked me off into thinking about this was Irene, when she said, well, she didn't really notice that she had even had a holy moment until she was thinking about it in light of what others were saying. And so in our journey here to have more holy moments and make this a part of the way that we are, how do you feel about this idea that the Good Samaritan was predisposed to the action? Like, it's not just something natural we do. It maybe we're trying to look back through our week and it's like, oh wow, did I create a holy moment? I really wanted to, did I? What is this concept of that the Good Samaritan was predisposed to helping the traveler on that day? What do you think that is about? Kim, you want to unmute yourself?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
For me, that basically says, and I think the following sentences follow through with that, is this: he had quite a few practice rounds in other situations and other circumstances to prepare him for a bigger, because that was a significant gift. But my take on that is that there had been times in his life already where he had to make decisions about caring. He always made those. So when it came time for a bigger one, he was ready.
Thanks. Yeah. What else do you think predisposes us to it? Is there anything anyone has to add that they would think also predisposes us?
I think what does is others having been, in this case, kind and caring to us, opens us up to the, what can I call it? We've experienced it and we want to pass it on.
Good. So making those small choices, seeing how they feel, and then also seeing how it feels towards us and being intentional, right? Antoinette?
What's coming to mind is the Unity basic principles. And it's not enough to just believe it or know it, it's to live it and put it in action. And so that's what's coming to mind that he's doing, that he's not just, we have these professions, we're professing to believe in this or to be this way. But, and I'm thinking of the quote from the all famous Anonymous, what you do speak so loudly, I can't hear what you're saying. So putting it into action.
Say that quote again. I haven't heard that one.
What you do speak so loudly, I can't hear what you're saying.
Nice. Thanks. Beth, yes.
So something that comes to mind for me is a reference to Kathleen, your sharing last week that I just loved and found myself practicing in the mirror this week myself. Thank you so much for the great idea. And so the first premise for me is living my life of yes and just staying open. And as I wake and as I begin my day, and as I lead through in all the ways that I can, I say yes. I mean, clearly there are things, but even in saying yes, you'll find out that it really was no, because it doesn't work out. And that's how you know that it's okay. But you stayed open, you stayed present to the flow, and it sets you up for what is to come. And that to me reminds me of the Good Samaritan in that way, in that he had some, he, she, they, we have the ability to set ourselves up into the flow of yes, I'm open, which leads to what can I do for you today? Which I just love, Kathleen. That was fabulous. But I think that all lends itself together.
Thanks.
Thanks. let's let Kathleen reply and then Sally.
Well, I was just making note of on page 40, it says holy moments are active, not passive. And so I think to claim that as a holy moment, it requires some action. And that's what the Good Samaritan was doing.
Thank you.
Right?
Sally?
Well, what Beth was saying about, yes, it just resonated with me. Mickey Singer, who wrote Living the Untethered Life. He's phenomenal. And he just went on a mission to say yes. And the whole book is about that. And he wanted to say no a lot, and how miraculous, marvelous things often occurred because he said yes. And I think holy moments can be in that way too, is that you may be a little timid or reserved to create action and reach out to someone. And it could be a nudge to say, yes, I'm going to do that.
Thank you. Yeah, I definitely agree. So all these ways we're predisposing ourselves to experiencing this part of our life and being open more when all these little things. So, and also in this predisposition, trying to train our brain to do this, in the next section, he's just talking a little bit more about how to fill your life with holy moments. So how can we activate this more often in small ways so this becomes a big part of our life eventually? And so he breaks down each of these into their little parts and says that each part of it, every individual part of his statement about what a holy moment is part of that unfolding, that predisposition in our lives. So I'd like to start on page 36 when he starts going through each line. And he starts with a holy moment is a single moment. And then each one he puts in bold with an explanation. And so Bobby Ellis, can you please read the first one? So the first bold statement with the first paragraph there. Gonna unmute yourself. Thanks.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yes, sounds great.
Okay, a holy moment is a single moment. The beauty of a single moment is that it's not overwhelming. It's not a day, a week, a month, or even a whole hour. It's just one moment. In that one moment, you discover what you are capable of doing and who you are capable of being. Both discoveries will amaze you.
Thank you. So we talked about this last time, that it's just a moment. Is there someone who can read the second one? We'll kind of take those both together. I saw a couple other hands, so I'm going to let a lot of people, we got a lot of opportunities to read. Why don't we let Kathleen, why don't you go next?
Okay. Are you open to God? Sometimes we are, and sometimes we aren't. We can be open to God in some areas of our lives, but closed to Him in other areas of our lives. Holy moments give us the chance to experience what it's like to be 100% open to God. Because no matter who we are or what we have done in the past, we are all capable of opening ourselves 100% to God for a single moment.
So I like the way he weaves those together. And then for all of us who like the more unitized language, we might not use him. We might just replace the word him with God or divine or spirit, however you see that. Are there any reflections on the idea of the single moment connecting to opening ourselves to God? Gigi.
So the thing that I was thinking about, I think last week Ray was talking about this, because it's like, I know I can't be 100% all the time. I mean, it's just not possible. But to say that you can be 100% for a moment is doable. And in that, the other thing kind of this week, kind of in those moments I had, the other thing that struck me, and I think Ray was saying this part of it, is about the importance of being present in the presence. You know, because sometimes we just are, you know, we're busy or whatever, and so we're just not hearing that voice so much.
Thank you.
Hmm.
Was there someone else? I thought I saw a hand and then I didn't see one. All right. Can somebody read the third one and just read the first paragraph of "you make yourself available"? I saw several other hands. Leslie, you want to unmute and do the third, just the first paragraph of that? You're still muted.
Okay, finally did. It takes it a minute. Okay. So it's the last paragraph on 36.
Yeah, you make yourself available.
Okay. You make yourself available to him. If you want to see miracles, make yourself available to God. When we make ourselves available to God, amazing things happen. Throughout history, God has collaborated with the most unlikely people to make amazing things happen. And now he wants to collaborate with you. God almost never chooses the most qualified person or the people in positions of power and authority. God chooses people nobody would expect. I like that.
Right. And then
Do you want me to do the next one?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. When God is looking for someone to collaborate with, he chooses those who make themselves available to him. He does not see your past as an impediment to your future. The rest of your life begins the moment you make yourself available to God.
Thank you.
You set aside personal preference.
Yeah.
Okay. You set aside personal
just stop
preference.
right there. Just stop right there.
Okay, I'm sorry.
We can
Okay.
just skip that one. And then I just always give
Okay.
the reminder that in unity, we generally see God in us and God not as a him. And so
Right.
to replace those, and so that when we make ourselves available, we're making ourselves available to a power within us and around us, and not necessarily an entity that is a him. And I just wanted to know what anyone thinks about the idea about God choosing, not always choosing the most qualified people. So, because it's not really, so just how you see that in your own mind, how you translate that, what that means to you, Beth.
Well, my immediate question is, who determines who is and isn't qualified? And the reason I say that is because we all are an individuation of the divine, and look at all of us in our beauty and our very specific character, and that, you know, divine wants nothing more than to continue the trajectory of creation. And it takes all of us to create all of the lovely things that will be coming and occurring in our lives.
I love that answer. Thank you. Kim, did you want to add?
I did. One of the things that I heard this week, and it's Michael Beckwith, I think, wrote it. And it said, it was talking about who chooses what on, in terms of living every day. And his comment was, God doesn't God doesn't ask us for qualifications. He gives you the qualifications.
Mm-hmm.
Tails into what you were talking
That's
about.
a good one. I like that.
I love that. Yeah, it's we
Yeah,
that decide that whether we're the ones that put that label of qualified on ourselves and each other, right? It's not God that does that. Beth, did you want to add?
I was just thinking about Moses. Moses was like, oh no, I'm not qualified. I stutter. I don't know what I'm doing. And God's like, oh, for crying out loud, you know, and he's like, I've got you covered. And he had his brother, and look what Moses did.
Yeah.
And he was illiterate, right? He was illiterate. And go figure what he did.
I mean, you know, we get in our way, bless our hearts. We try so hard and we just get in our way.
Yeah. Yes.
Thanks.
And
Beth,
y'all
Yes,
stand
indeed.
up behind me because I do. I mean, I'm not saying I don't.
that's right. Beth L was next, and then Antoinette.
I have an example of the being available. So on Wednesday, I was off work. I made an appointment to see the chiropractor. I had a couple sore spots. Well, then around 1 o'clock, my back just went out. Like I was in severe pain, and I'm like, "Yay, I'm glad I have this appointment!" Right? So then Thursday, I go to work, and Thursday night we had the Reiki service, and I had already asked Rev Sandy, can I bring my bowls, and add to it. So I made myself available to come to the Reiki night and do the bowls. And she had this big, huge bowl, and it was just amazing how these bowls just enhanced all of it. And then when it was Linda Koenig was like, who wants some Reiki? I was like, me. And I jumped up on the table. And they gave me Reiki, and it was just amazing. I don't know where I went, but I made myself receptive. Like, I'm going to receive this healing. I just claimed it, and I did the breathing, and I get up, and all of that pain was gone. All of that pain was gone. And then I'm over there doing the bowls again, and I felt it kind of creeping back, and I'm like, nope, I'm claiming this. Well, and my chiropractor had said, come back next week. Well, Friday I wake up, zero pain. Like, and as a Reiki practitioner, I'm like, yeah, we heal, the Reiki. Well, I got to really get a taste of this from the receiving end and really get a huge healing. And I may not have been there had I not volunteered and said, hey, let me do the sound bowls. There's been a million of these Reiki nights that I haven't even bothered to come to on a Thursday night. And it was after a long, busy day. But it's like, I'm going to go and make myself available to add to it. And by doing that, I received so much from that. So, yeah. That's, I think, my point. Like, you think you're doing something, but when we give, I think we're also getting a healing and a receiving. I think it's reciprocal with these holy moments. That was a huge holy moment for me.
Giving is a form of making ourselves available. Thank you for that example. Antoinette?
As everyone's talking, what's coming to mind is, and it's from A Course in Miracles, a prayer and an invitation. And it's, God, what would you have me do? Where would you have me go? What would you have me say, and to whom? How would you have me be? I am yours. Use me.
Very nice. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So making ourselves available means that we have to see what's there. Sometimes, God is always here. We are always not present to that. So it's making ourselves present to the fact that God is always here. And so in the next part, I just want to summarize through setting aside your personal preferences and setting aside self-interests. So this is not about sacrificing. Even though we have all of our preferences on, he talks about food and music and chocolate and movies and sports and books and cities. I mean, Lord knows I have mine on outcomes and attitudes. Like I prefer things to turn out a certain way. I prefer people with certain attitudes when they show up in my presence, and I don't always get to pick. So, however, it's not really about sacrificing the things that we deserve to have. It's not about a sense of deserving or a sense of wanting or to say that that's bad in any way. It's just for a moment. How are we sure what we're being called to if we're only seeing what we really, really want and we're not open to it? So it's about clarity, right? It's about clarity and just being open. And maybe exactly what you're desiring, exactly what you're wanting is what God has in mind right now. And maybe you go back to that after the moment. And we'll never really know what's in that moment if we can't be fully present to what's in front of us. And so to set that aside and does not mean to sacrifice. It just means to put it aside so that we can see clearly. And a lot of times he talks about hearing God's voice, but a lot of people, they get that through their body senses. They get that through visual or signs or however you stay open to it. And those things aren't always apparent if we're worried about getting or not getting something the way we prefer it. So setting those aside just for the moment. And the same way with our self-interest. And I love the idea that he put in there that the old notion of no one's going to look out for ourselves but us. If we don't look out for ourselves, nobody else will. And so the idea that we trust God as our source, God is our support, God is our help in every need. God is there to source us. So in this moment, there is nothing that we need, nothing that we lack, and that we can set aside our personal self-interest for just this moment so that we can be clear about what God is calling us to do. It's like that old adage that we bring up a lot in unity circles. If you've heard it from Albert Einstein, the real question is the universe actually a friendly place? So it's seeing in that moment that we can be trusting that the universe is a friendly place and that God will take care of me in this moment. So I can set aside my self-interest for now to hear or sense or get whatever it is that God is calling me to do with clarity in this moment. And those aren't always easy things to do. So that leads us down to the sixth thing on page 39. And for one moment again, so we're encouraged to take it just one moment. So he's repeating from the first line, one single moment again. So I don't think we need to go over that too much. Turning back over onto page 40, we're simply trying to find out what's possible for that one moment. So number 7, is there someone on page 40 who can read the you do part? It's just the you do. I mean, so little and so important. If somebody can read that section that has a book, George, do you want to unmute and do that one?
Thought am I okay? Do you hear me?
Oh, I was going to let George go and then Kim.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear. Sorry, George. Go for it, buddy.
No problem.
George first and then Kim. Okay.
You do. Holy moments are active, not passive. They don't just happen. We make them happen in collaboration with God. We choose them. A holy moment is a grace-filled, prayer-directed action.
We make them happen. We choose them. We make them happen. We choose them. George, did you want to comment?
Yeah, I guess it was a comment about, excuse me, in general, we look at this as helping someone else kind of stuff. But I'm also looking at it having a holy moment where you're the one who's looking to have something happen. In which case, somebody is helping you, in which case, it becomes a holy moment again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes, very nice. It's that reciprocal thing we talked about earlier. Irene, did you want to comment on that?
No, I want to kind of ask a question. When you said it's something that you make happen, something inside me said you allow it to happen. And then I thought, well, is the word make being used because that's action? Allowing is also action. So how does it feel to the rest of you to make a differentiation between those two words?
I personally think it's both because we talked already a little bit back there about allowing.
Mhm.
You know, about making ourselves available and allowing. I think it's both. I think he's trying to say that sometimes we can just sit back and allow to be a part of it, and sometimes it's a choice to actually do something. If something comes to us to do, that we actually take the action because it's an active thing. I don't know if anyone else wants to respond to that.
That makes sense to me. So the allow is the first step and the make is the second step.
Yeah, that's the way that I see it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Kim, can you go ahead and read the 8th one, what you prayerfully believe?
Yes. Up, there we go. Prayer guided action is powerful. Seek God's counsel before you act. The Holy Spirit yearns to coach, mentor, advise, and guide you every moment of your life. I have never met anyone who relied too much on the Holy Spirit, though I often relied too little on him.
All right.
You want
Yeah.
me to keep-
And then in Unity Talk, we define the Holy Spirit as God in manifest action on this earthly plane. So God in action through us, expressed through us, is the Holy Spirit. So that makes complete sense to me that that is an active thing, that it's prayerfully guided action, because it's God manifest through us. So if we're allowing, being open and available, receiving guidance, and then acting upon it, that is kind of the definition of what the Holy Spirit is supposed to do in a perspective.
Everybody else looks.
And then the last part, what is God calling you to do? Just remembering again that he says in this that if we listen to the voice of God and do what God is calling us to do, we live deeply fulfilling lives and our souls erupt with joy. That not all of us hear a voice. Sometimes it sounds like our voice, sometimes it's an intuition of some kind, a sensing, and it's not always a voice telling us to do it. It's a nudging, an urging, it's however you sense it. So this is the big question. This was a lot. So we've got a holy moment is a single moment. You open yourself to God. You make yourself available. I'm just going back through all of these. You have the book if you can go back. You set aside personal preferences. You set aside self-interest. For one moment, you do what you are prayerfully believe that God is calling you to do. Those are all separate parts of the holy moment that make it complicated and so simple, all at the same time. This is what I love about this. It's so simple, yet there's so much to it. So my question for you, and I'd like to break out to a small group for this, is which parts of this are easiest for you? Because there's like 9 parts. And which parts are hardest? And in case you don't have the book, I'll go through them one more time in case you want to jot notes so that you can talk about it. That it's a single moment. You open yourself to God. You make yourself available. Set aside personal preference. You set aside self-interest. And for that one moment, you do what you are prayerfully believing God is calling you to do. So which ones of those are easiest for you and which ones are the most difficult? And I'm gonna make some breakout rooms here and give you about 5 or 6 minutes, if that's okay.
Okay.
And let's see. Great. Oh, I see what I did. It didn't give me, I'm like, it didn't give me, it gave me one big room. All right, I got it. All right, I'll see you guys in about 5 or 6 minutes, okay?
Okay.
Hi, John. I don't know if you're just listening in from the road. We're in a breakout room for the next 2 minutes. So if you think it's you and you've gone out, come back in because of that. I'm just letting you know. You might have some connection issues, and that's cool too for you to be listening. And I'm glad you're there. But just in case you think it's dead air because we're not here, we've still got about 2 more minutes. And then it takes about a minute for everybody to get back. So somewhere about the next 2 to 3 minutes, we still have just a little bit of downtime while everybody's out in a breakout room. It's just me and you right now, hanging out, waiting for everybody to get back. Well, it looks like we're making it back. Nobody came back early. Nobody clicked the button. So I'm hoping the discussion was good. Is there any general takeaways from the conversation? Something you'd like to share that came out? With the whole group?
Sandy, I don't know if your microphone's on weird, but it seems like it's reverberating.
I know.
I think it's Gigi.
Well, and there's also some open mics, so we might, that if we're not speaking, we should probably turn our mics on.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Okay. So I don't know if I hope that conversation was good. Is there any general takeaway from the conversation? That somebody, Kim?
Our group, you know, the three of us basically looked at this pretty much on the same terms. One person said there's a lot of information to remember in terms of it, what qualifies as that holy moment. And then the other things where we found as you're reading through the 9, there's some very similar, like what's the difference between being open yourself to God and making yourself available? So it feels as though some steps are spelled out more than others. And one of the things that we kind of talked about is we kind of already, this isn't as hard for us to buy or to buy into, is what I'm trying to say, because so much of it is unity like, you know, that the whole conversation about a holy moment is unity teachings, you know. So we felt like we might have been more, maybe that's why there's so many words to us. We might not have chosen to do it that way. That's kind of our joy.
Thank you. Yeah, I like it. Anybody else have anything to add? So the idea is just opening up the conversation, because the idea is that going out and saying, how will you fill your life with holy moments? How will you make yourself open and available, and all of the things on there. And in the next section, he talks about everyday examples of holy moments. And he gives a lot of different little examples. And he talks about on page 42 all of the places that we can see holy moments. If somebody wants to read under that next section, everyday examples of holy moments, does somebody want to read? It's like a little question and then that first couple paragraphs there on that page. Lynn, thank you.
How much, Sandy, how much did you want me to read?
If you read the first, it's like 3 paragraphs, because it's like
Okay.
a question and then a paragraph and then a little tiny paragraph after that. Yeah.
Okay, I got it. Examples of holy moments. How many situations do you see each day in need of a holy moment? One of the things I love about this idea is how universally practical it is. It can be applied to every situation and every aspect of our lives. In a workshop recently, I asked the group to put together a list of 10 aspects of life that mattered most. This is what they came up with: health, marriage and family, work, spirituality, home life, finances, friendships, recreation, community, and personal growth. Holy moments can be applied to each of these aspects of our lives, and holy moments will improve all of these aspects of our lives. Holy moments make us better husbands, wives, parents, and children, friends and neighbors, brothers and sisters, colleagues and citizens. Holy moments will make us better human beings.
Thank you. So what do you take from this? Where can you see this working better in one of these areas of your life? How can you see the applying holy moments to any of these sections? What could you do to enrich your life, make it better? And I love George's comment keeps coming back to me too, that as we enrich these areas of our life, we might be enriching people in these areas, but it's also going to enrich us. These are things that we do not only to open them, but to open ourselves to our spiritual journey. Can you think of an example of where your life could be enriched by actually going out and trying them? Beth L.
I'll share one. It popped up in our group. Mine would be in career. I drive around a lot with the home health to go to these different people's homes, and I see the beggar people with the signs at the corners, And the one day I gave some change, but I was sitting. I thought about the lady with paying for the coffees, and I'm like, I want to give them something. I don't have any. No one does cash anymore, really, right? So I was telling our group, I'm gonna go get a case of water. I'm gonna start handing out bottles of water to the people, and George put some icing on the Holy Moment cake. He goes, when you hand them to the people, tell them you're special. You can just say to them, hey, I'm giving this to you because you're special. Because who do they hear that from? They're out on the streets feeling like a loser, I'm sure. I would. How hard is it to keep your head up? So anyway, that's something I'm gonna do, and I'm so excited now because thank you, George, because that was brilliant. That was just seemed like the icing on the cake to say that to them as well.
I love that you shared that. I think that could go for anyone. I mean, how many people that really means something to us in our lives we see often, and we don't just say that.
Right.
I mean, it could be anyone we could just say that to. And I mean, that could apply across the board to anyone in any of these situations. I love that idea.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Antoinette?
Well, I think in each one of these areas, for me, it's being more mindful. Because this whole conversation around the holy moments and what's underneath it is an opportunity to really live mindfully and intentionally and consciously. And to me, those are three different things. And with what Beth shared, there's a show called School of Greatness by Lewis Howes. It's on PBS Sunday mornings at 9:00, and he ends his show every week with, if anyone hasn't told you, you are loved, you are worthy, and you matter. And when I hear that, I really feel his sincerity, and it touches me deeply that this guy is thinking about that. And he's looking at in the camera, and I started saying it back to him, because he may be saying it to others, but something as simple as that, it's really powerful. And I'm able to receive it.
Good. Thank you. Thank you. So he does give several examples. My favorite is on 43 when he talks about his sons, Walter and Ralphie. And Walter actually had said that he didn't know if he had any holy moments that day when he was asked the question. And they reiterate, so Matthew Kelly reiterates the story about how earlier in that day, Walter had suggested that they stop and get donuts when Walter hates donuts. And he wanted to get donuts for Ralphie, his little brother. And when they brought those donuts home, Ralphie had had a really horrible day. And he was so excited to receive those donuts. And that was a holy moment because he didn't do that for himself. He did that for his little brother. And then they talk about John Miller, who went down the road and mowed his neighbor's lawn because he saw that he had a broken leg. And Mary Wright, who always pays for the person behind her in the drive-through. Like, these are very little things. And the story on 45, I'm going to go through some of these because we're out of time. So I'm going to just running through some of them to catch us up. Lillian Lopez has a teenage daughter with an attitude and behavior she's not very happy about. I know all about that one. And she just decided that since her daughter had all these thoughts and emotions, that she'd wake her up early, take her out for her favorite coffee house, and give her a journal. And she had 2 journals, one for her daughter and one for her. And her daughter was very touched by the idea that her mom said, I want you to write down your hopes and your dreams, and I want you to have a place that you can feel free to talk about your future. And then she asked, well, why do you have 2? And she says, well, it's about time for me to revisit my dreams too. So I'm going to start writing down my own dreams. So I really wanted to pick up on page 46 with Joan Binzer and see if there's someone who might want to read about Joan Binzer, who worked at the greeting card company. This is this was my favorite Holy Moment story. And it's kind of long, so I don't know if somebody could stop in the middle, we could pick up, or someone who just likes to read. I'll let Antoinette, well, let's Antoinette go because Bobby read already, and then maybe Bobby will pick up on the back side. We've got one more section to read.
Joan Binzer worked hard at a greeting card company. Less than 3 miles from the company was a prison with 400 male occupants, the worst of the worst offenders. Joan had worked at the greeting card company for 13 years, and every morning as she drove past the prison, she wondered about the prisoners and what had gone wrong in their lives. As a mother, she couldn't help but think how hard it must be for their mothers. As May came around that year, Joan had an idea. She went to her boss and said, what if our community service project this quarter, we take some Mother's Day cards and stamps over to the prison for the prisoners to send to their moms? Joan's boss said he would check with the prison and get back to her. The following week, he told Joan the prison warden was very appreciative and supportive. So Joan and 9 of her colleagues went over to the prison with 200 Mother's Day cards, thinking that not all prisoners would necessarily want to participate. It quickly became apparent that her assumption was completely wrong. Before Joan had helped a dozen prisoners pick a card for their mothers, she had been asked 7 times, would it be okay if I took 2? Joan finally worked up the nerve to ask one of the prisoners, what is your name, sir? Jimmy Johnson, ma'am, he replied. Why do you want 2, Jimmy? She asked. Well, my mom did the best she could, but she had her own problems, so I was mostly raised by my grandmother. So I was thinking if it was okay with you good people, I would send one to my grandmother too. Joan had to use all her strength not to burst into tears. There were 400 inmates in that prison that day, and every single one wrote a Mother's Day card. That's 400 holy moments. In fact, Joan and her company ended up mailing 657 Mother's Day cards for the inmates. That touches me too, and I was able to read it through.
Thank you.
Nice.
I didn't know if anybody had a comment on it, but I think that is just that is like the power of what can happen in a holy moment and the ripple effect and the idea. I know we're not going to be able to get this whole chapter when he talks about the tidal wave of goodness at the end of this. That is an example of a tidal wave of goodness. That one little idea can have such a profound effect. Can you imagine all of the people that reached? And we talk about the unexpected. How many recipients received that totally unexpectedly? And that would have been a complete holy moment. It's incredible to think. So it talks about just being a patient listener is all that you need to do. Sometimes just being heard by that patient listener. And then in the next section about a nurse who puts together a pool for a nurse with cancer so they can work her shifts so that she can, because she didn't have enough sick days, and they ended up pulling those shifts for 3 years in order to get her through her chemo treatment. So little things can add up to the big thing. So we might be doing something small at first, and it can create this kind of ripple effect. So I really do want to get to this section on 51. I want to read this one, and Bobby Ellis had wanted to read. So this is the list of some holy moments that we can try. And so as we go into our week, there's a list. It starts on 51 and the last one ends on 52. Bobby Ellis, can you read us the list of the everyday examples?
Okay. Holy moments come in all shapes and sizes. Here are some more everyday examples. Control your temper, even if you are fully justified in losing it. Pray before making a decision. Encourage someone, coach someone, praise someone, affirm someone. Be patient with that person who drives you crazy. Do something that helps you become a better version of yourself, even when you don't feel like it. Give whoever is in front of you your full attention. That's a holy moment. Begin each day with a short prayer of gratitude. Catch someone doing something right and praise them. Overlook an offense against you. Go out of your way to make the new person feel welcome. Take your spouse's car and fill it with gas. Take an interest in someone. Ask him about the best part of his day. Ask her about her dreams. Give someone a life-changing book, Holy Moments. Stand up for someone who is being bullied, or belittled. Write a love letter. Clean up the mess, even though you didn't make it. Express your appreciation to someone who helps you. Pray for the people who are having the hardest day of their lives right now. Teach someone about holy moments. And an easy way to do that is to give someone a copy of this book. Teaching someone about holy moments could trigger thousands of holy moments. We will send you the book. Just visit holymomentsbook.com and request 6 free copies of this book to share with others. Imagine how many holy moments you would trigger in a person's life by introducing them to this idea. These are examples of everyday holy moments. There are some amazing stories here, but holy moments come in all shapes and sizes, and most of them are small and anonymous. The important takeaway is the realization that holy moments are possible, not just for other people, but for you. That is an amazing discovery. Every day you will see opportunities for holy moments. These opportunities are literally everywhere. There is a way to respond to every situation that transforms it into a holy moment. And there is nothing more fulfilling than collaborating with God to create holy moments. Holy moments are going to make you insanely happy.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I love that list. Don't you love that list?
Yes.
So I know we only have a few minutes left, but I really would like you to set an intention to try some of these on the list that stood out to you, at least one or two. Can you think of at least a couple things on the list that stood out to you?
Yeah.
And I like you to jot them down. And I hope you have the book so that you can reread over them and look at them on the 51 and 52. And I'd like you to share them. So I'd like to do another short breakout room so that you can share some of your intentions this week. And it doesn't have to be something on the list. It could be something else that just springboarded attention, your something in you, spark something in you. And then of course we'll stay open to things you didn't even realize that you didn't intend to do that are going to pop up. But I'd like you to just be able to share an intention for some way you would like to try these holy moments in your week. So I'm only going to give you a couple minutes here, so not a lot of long stories. Let's do the same thing because we've only got about 8 minutes left. So I'm only going to give you about 4 minutes in the room. Does that sound okay? All right, so share your intentions. John, it's just me and you again. We're going to be here for about 4 minutes without them. while they get to talk with each other. Oh, hey, that's so cool to see you. It's so awesome that you get to listen in. All right, we got like a minute left before they come back in. I'm glad you're joining us. Be safe. All right. I hope we had some good intention setting there and maybe a little good discussion around some of the examples for just a couple minutes. And we just have a few minutes here in closing. So kind of a question here to yourself is, as you're going through this, I'm sure there's someone in your life that you already know does this. So think about who in your life that you've witnessed living and giving holy moments like a lot. Like I think of a teacher that I teach with that it's not just students, it's other teachers. She supports other teachers in so many ways. She brings things, she's had community members from the community bring and honor, to donate things for teachers all the time. She's constantly thinking. So think of who it is in your life that does holy moments, and maybe they just have never called it that. And then just send some gratitude to them right now. And if you can this week, make it a point to thank them. Make it one of your holy moments this week to think, who already does this? Who do you see doing this in little ways? And give appreciation to them in the ethers and in your gratitude moments, but try to make it a point to send them a little something, or actually stop them and tell them thank you. And I'm gonna stop the recording and hope that I can't wait to hear your holy moments for next week. But I'll hang around for a few minutes if you have other questions or other sharing. And I just can't wait to hear what you have for week 3 next week.